This is How Judd for Boxing Social in partnership with Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined by Joe Gallagher, fresh off the back from his visit to Japan. Joe, before we start anything else, how are you, mate?
Yeah, okay, mate. Just getting over the jet lag. It was a tough trip for Paul, but it's been a tough year for the whole gym. So we've just all got to take a little bit of time out now and ready for a huge 2023.
Yeah, before we do a reflection on the year and the whole stable as a whole, just going through the Paul Butler Inoue fight, obviously didn't go the way you wanted, the way you planned, but just talk me through your reflection, mate.
Yeah, listen, first of all, I was really annoyed of the lack of media coverage for that type of fight. The first undisputed world title at that weight division. The lack of no shows of people turn up to Paul's media public workout in the UK before he went. And just for a lot of disrespect. The respect by boxing journalists, people in the pro game that were writing Paul off with bets that were going under 2 or over 2. It was just a load of disrespect. I just felt Paul went out there and he did very well early on, and we got the fight to where we wanted to in round 6, 7. I've always said Inoue, once he starts coming in, I think Tim Bradley called it right. We had him where we wanted. He takes chances. He opens up his defence more on the way in. And there were opportunities then for Paul to land the shots that we worked on. But it's easier said than done when I'm sat on the ring apron and Paul's in there. But I thought Paul showed good defence in there. He nullified a lot of his attacks, rode a lot of his best shots. And for everyone that was saying that when the first was made, Paul Butler, God bless him, would be over and around as good as Inoue is. It still took him 11 rounds to catch up to Paul Butler. So I'm usually proud of Paul Butler, and I'm not a proud loser, never have been. But I think I did a post. I think I did a post which was really to all them that said he wouldn't last around, which was just a huge smacker disrespect to Paul Butler, who's a 2-time world champion, being in the best like Terri Rodriguez and now Inoue, and has never ducked a challenge in his life, and he should have been credited a lot more for going ahead and wanting to take on one of the best, if not the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world at the moment.
Yeah, when I said to Paul before he went, and we discussed the criticism primarily from the American side of the media that were really going on Paul, he said to me, "What are you in the game for? Really? What are you in boxing for? You go for those big fights."
That's it. That's all fighters. Everyone wants to test themselves against the best, and they said, "Oh, it's the worst unification fight ever." Well, I remember watching Mike Tyson destroy Spinks in 90 seconds, and Donald Curran destroying Milton McCrory within 2 rounds, and like I say, they were supposed to be tough fights. So I just thought it was too much criticism for Paul, and I didn't give him the credit, and I didn't think the media did. I don't think the TV channels did. And I don't think the social media channels did. I think they're too busy chasing women who weigh in bikinis at press conferences for interviews, and they are proper solid fighters that are world champions and have deserved the credit, and have been in the sport since the age of 9 and 10 and deserve the seat at the table.
How is Paul? I've not had the chance to speak to him. I've tried to contact him, but he's obviously not in the mood for chatting at the moment. But how is he?
Yeah, no, Paul's good. He's good. I seen Paul yesterday. He's okay. He's back, and I think he's got his football team's works to do this week, so you might not be able to get in touch with him. But Paul's okay. Paul's okay. I think somebody posted out, or whether it be Top Rank, a shot that Inoue threw, which was a straight right hand right on the button and landed on Paul's chin. And I think that must have been around 8 or 9, and Paul took it and rode it. And I said to him afterwards, "How did you feel?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Listen, I just warmed into it and got used to the power." And I think you're doing fights. You start fighting at a level, you get used to it. I said to Paul, "What was it like?" He said it was just his distance. He closed the distance very well. He imposed himself He says, I came out at the beginning of the round and I took the middle of the ring, and there was a little step here and a little step there. And yeah, listen, he's a phenomenal fighter in Inoue, and Paul didn't disgrace himself.
Were you surprised? Obviously, you're obviously going to back your man 100%, but were you even surprised in how well Paul did deal, especially in the early rounds?
And no, not a surprise whatsoever. I view belief in Paul Butler. I think he's one of the most underrated British boxers there is. I think this year, I think his win for the world title against Sultan Jonas is one of the best performances in a British ring this year. Like anything, there's no appetite to talk about the gym success, the fighter's success, and Paul Butler's another example of that. No one wants to talk about his display when winning the world title this year, which is one of the best performances by a British fighter, and there's no surprise to me. And I came away thinking Paul did well, but I still feel there was more that Paul could have done in that fight. But like you say, he's in there, and that's it.
Yeah, definitely. But let's do a reflection on the gym as a whole. In activity, in terms of your stable, I'd say probably one of them in the most active stables out there. You look at McCauley McGowan, Sion Yaxley, Clark Smith. Obviously, you've got Natasha, for example, and Mark Heffron. There's been activity in the gym this year.
Yeah, no, there is. It's been a good year. When we think like a year ago, McCauley was in training camp now, getting ready for that fight against Sergio Martinez over in Spain. And listen, McCauley, I think he said to me, it's the most busiest he's been this year. He's had 3 fights. He lost to Sergio Martinez, and then he's come back with 2 more fights. He's out again at the beginning of February next year. So he's had a good year, McCauley, and he's slowly getting better, and he's improving, and we'll be looking for English title and possibly British title shots next year. So McCauley's done well. Sion Yaxley, he's had 3 fights this year, 3 wins, and he's now 12-0. And he had a good knockout this year. And his last fight, he had a good 8-round win on points, getting rounds under the belt. So he's another kid that's looking to make a move next year, win a Welsh Celtic title, and put himself in the mix for a British title opportunity. So, as you said there, Sean's had a good year. Clark Smith has had 3 fights in, 3 months? He is one that I have huge hopes for. I think he's a seriously talented kid. We're not rushing him. He's learning his craft. And I know people saying, "Oh, he's not knocking people out," but like I've said to Clark, you try it and get every minute you can under them lights, practicing what you're learning in the gym, your slipping, your countering. And I think if you watch his first fight to his 3rd fight, the improvements he's making, and I really feel he will be a solid kid. I mentioned it to someone the other day. He reminds me an awful lot like Richard Williams years ago. He absolutely knows his stuff, and when the time is for him to step through them doors, he's going to be well ready to deal with it. He's not got to be rushed, and he's a kid that's got to do it the right way. He's doing well. Callum Thompson, obviously, he's had a couple of fights this year. Another kid there now. He's got to be out February at the beginning of the year, and I'm looking forward to him to have a bit more of a busier year this year. Callum, I want to, like Clark, both of them have 4, 5, 6 fights this year, and look at especially young Callum getting in a bit of a title situation by the end of the year, whether that be English or not. So listen, they've done really well. Jose Burton came back, had 2 fights at his new division cruiserweight at the end of the year, so he's up and running. He's looking for some type of title shot. Marcus Morrison had a win, and then he had a good shootout with Denzel Bentley for the British title. Like I said, we thought we had him in the first round, and you got to see how well he did, Marcus, when you went then go and watch and see how well Denzel did in his world title opportunities. So yeah, it was a busy year. Obviously, it was a shame it wasn't the year for Callum Johnson. He was due to fight Joe Smith, and if he wouldn't have got that COVID, I was 100% sure he would have become a world champion. And that was the goal at the start of the year. The 3 kids that I felt that had been kicked to the curb, forgotten about, written off, Paul Butler, Natasha, Jonas, and Callum Johnson, they were the 3 that were going to come back and win world titles. Frank Warren did a great job. He got an opportunity for him to fight Joe Smith, then a European title fight, and then he got COVID again. And then, like I say, he was due to fight by the end of the year, but his body and his immune system, and it was just all a little bit too much. And it's unfortunate that he had to retire. But for the other 2, Paul Butler, wow, obviously the disappointment this time last year in Dubai. but to come in then and put a career best performance in against Sultan Jonas and become a two-time world champion, and like I say, Natasha Jonas, some 3 fights, 3 wins, 3 world titles, a ring belt. What a year for her. It was definitely a year of a comeback for her, Paul Butler, and also Mark Heffron as well. Mark Heffron, 3 fights, 3 wins, 3 knockouts, and a real fighter now that's on form, a good fighter, a hot fighter. And both, like I said, Paul Butler went into that fight, was an underdog against Sultan Jonas, an underdog at the bookies, an underdog with Boxing News. So was Mark Heffron with the Lennox Clark. And they both went in and pulled off the wins, and the big wins as well, and impressive in doing it as well. I thought Mark Heffron's performance against Lennox Clark was very clinical, and he's definitely a hot fighter to watch for 2023. And Natasha Jonas, like I just touched on earlier, listen, everything that she should get should be given to her this year, whether you like her or not, or the stable that she's from. But you can't deny what a year she's had and what a comeback year she's had. So, like I say, it was a bit of a comeback year for the gym and certain fighters. Like I say, for Mark Heffron, Tasha Jonas, and like I say, next year I'm really excited for what Natasha, Mark, Charlie Edwards really ready to go. Paul Butler ready to go again. And like I say, the young kids coming through, Callum Thompson, Clark Smith, Sean Yaxley, Macaulay McGowan, Jose Burton. Yeah, listen, some of them, they're nearly at the end, but there's some good young blood coming through. And the gym's firing at the moment.
It's amazing. You've just gone through there. I don't know whether you're going to sit back and proper reflect on your own in terms of the success of what you've done this year, but that's some year you've had, Joe. I think you'd agree.
Yeah, it is. When you think, when you sit back and you think, well, we had won 4 world titles. Natasha got 3 of them. Paul got 1. Natasha won a ring belt. So I'm really proud to have a female ring champion now, to have gone with Callum Smith when he won the ring. I thought Marcus was very brave and put it all on the line, and it was an edge of your seat shootout for however long it lasted. Mark Heffron, listen, that was a journey that started, was it 10, 11 years ago together as a professional, and I'm really glad that he's beginning to fulfill his potential now. And there was a lot of barriers and weight lifted off his shoulders that now, and Mark Heffron is back doing what I know Mark Heffron's good at, which is breaking jaws and knocking people out. And he's a hot fighter at the moment, and Tasha just keeps getting better. Charlie Edwards is improving in the gym all the time. And Paul Butler, like you say, ended the year with a good performance against Inoue. No shame in losing to one of the best, if not the best, pound for pound fighter in the world. And full credit to him. He was a 2-time world champion this year. Obviously, we won the British Commonwealth, and progress has been made with the young kids as well. I think everyone that's watched Clark Smith and Callum Thompson have been impressed with him, and also Sean Yaxley, a kid that's slowly going under the radar. But like you say, it is as good as 2022 is. Can we better it in 2023? I think we can. I think there's world titles in the gymnasium if the opportunities present themselves.
I'm sure Sean hasn't stopped going on about that knockout win.
Yeah, no, he is, Sean. And
a tremendous shot, though.
No, listen, it was good for him to get the win, but then, like I say, he had a good solid 8 rounds the next time out, and he nearly got the stoppage at the end of the 8th round. So, and I've said to him, you're getting ready to step up now to 10, 12 rounds. You need them go at 8 rounds. Listen, he's been down sparring, down at the McGuigans with the Aziz brothers and stuff like that. So Sean's learning his craft, and he's not a name on everyone's lips at the moment, but hopefully 2023 will be his breakthrough year.
Well, like I said to you before, especially with Clark Smith, it's been great in terms of, you've given him, well, he's had the opportunity, let's say, to fight on Sky Sports and Boxer, then going on Kieran Farrell's shows in Bolton. It seems that he's really appreciated getting the rounds in, getting the ring experience, but also getting the publicity that you get with the Boxer shows. Yeah,
no, definitely. And I think Clark as well, I think the story, obviously he's won like numerous national titles, 3, 4 national titles. Like you say, he's represented England, and then for him to turn professional, he got the good luck message from Canelo. He looks a little bit like Canelo. He comes out to Canelo's music. He's a huge Canelo fan. So the plan is next year, maybe early next year, we're going to go over and hopefully we'll pop in and see Canelo and Eddie Reynoso, and they'll get to meet. And listen, it was fantastic for him to get a good luck message for him before his fight. And just like it was for Barrera, sending Paul Butler a good luck message, his idol, before his fight with Inoue. So that's a sign of class of fighters, and that they take time out to give people like Paul Butler, and also like Clark Smith making his professional debut, to get like one of the legends of the sport a good luck message for him. So like I say, Clark's a kid now that has got to learn and continue to learn over the next 12 months, and he's somebody that everyone should keep an eye out on.
Definitely. Moving swiftly on, we spoke about this earlier. Obviously disappointing, I think, for many people as well as you and I, but tomorrow is the Sports Personality Award. You've spoken about Natasha Jonas multiple times just now. How disappointed, or how, I don't know, disappointed is the right word, it's probably a lot more than that, but how surprised are you that she hasn't been nominated for that award?
Yeah, I'm not disappointed. I'm just surprised how, listen, how they've done it this year. There's usually 10 or 12, isn't there? But I think that it's like they've just announced the 6 today, and I thought whether Natasha would be in the 10 or 12 is what I was thinking. Was she got in the 6? Well, listen, I don't think boxing's the be all and end all on the BBC Sports Personality of the Year awards. But I think Natasha Jonas, for what she's achieved this year, when it's what I call, I wouldn't say a weak year, it's not an Olympic year, when a lots of things gone on. But I thought if Natasha Jonas at age 38, a mum, wins 3 world titles from where she was at the beginning of last year, and in doing that, winning them in front of 20,000 Khan Brook, and then obviously winning the WBC belt in Liverpool, and then beating the #1 Maria Dicaire and winning the ring belt, and that's 3 world titles in 10 months, and 2 of them were in 10 weeks. And like I say, she's 38, she's a mum, and I just thought, what? And not only that though, Natasha does have a personality. It shines through when she's on television, when she's doing a presenting on Sky Sports. She does have a personality, and that's not a dig at people in the past who've won the award with no personality. But I do think Natasha Jonas ticks all them boxes to at least have been in the final 6 anyway. Whether she should have won it, listen, everyone that has been nominated feels that they deserve to win it. It's great to see Ronnie O'Sullivan there. It's great to see Beth Mead in there, and others as well from the Commonwealth. So, like I say, there isn't room for everyone. But I just thought with Natasha and her rage and what she's done, and from her setbacks, for the way that she's come back, I think it's the best story in British sport this year.
Yeah, and I first met Natasha in 2021 at the first ever Women in Boxing conference. That's where I learned a little bit, or a taste of what Natasha Jonas has been through the disappointment, obviously the footballing career, and even just attending that event. And you spoke about, obviously, just before we started, about the about people wanting to post things on social media regarding certain things at weigh-ins and stuff. But we're talking about role models. You look at Natasha Jonas, I don't think there's many other people that do it as much as her.
No, exactly. Natasha, she cracks me up sometimes on social media, on Twitter. She I wouldn't say she always has an opinion, but she's quick to praise other fighters, whether it be male or female. She's obviously been a massive ambassador for female boxing in Britain. She was the first to qualify for Britain at the Olympics, represent Britain at the Olympics, and then to go on and won 3 world titles in 10 months. I just thought, listen, should be in the running anyway for the top 6, top 4, top 3. But I was, I wouldn't say disappointed, just a bit sad for Natasha and her family, and for the city of Liverpool, that this woman has done what she has and inspired so many, just like Katie Taylor has in Ireland and around the world. And I think Natasha has it in this country, and for it got to be recognised really when she ticked all boxes what you'd really look for in a nomination. But like I say, everyone who's been nominated thoroughly deserves the nomination. But from me, because I manage and train Natasha, it would have been nice for them to have acknowledged Natasha, what she's done, more so where she's come from. to come back and do that at such a young age, what she is.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, it's just over a year she signed with Boxer, and I don't think that perhaps she would have thought of that, or you, but yeah, in terms of the success this year, I mean, I've read an article from Michael Rothstein from ESPN where Natasha was runner-up female fighter of the year, second to Clarissa Shields. I mean, that's again another fantastic achievement.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like you say, when you get acknowledgement over there from across the pond, for the female runner-up, so that's huge. And Clarissa's #1, and listen, that'd be a great fight if it actually happens next year. So yeah, Natasha's put herself in a good position, and sometimes in life there's opportunities to reward people and give people the pat on the back, and I think this was that moment for Natasha to receive that pat on the back, to receive that nomination, to receive an MBE, CBE, OBE, whatever EBE award for services to the sport of boxing and what she's done. And if it isn't going to happen now, then it never will. And that's a bit sad, really, to be honest.
Obviously, at the moment, she's enjoying Christmas with her daughter and enjoying the success of this year. But we have to talk about what the plan is for 2023. I'm pretty right in thinking that the Terri Harper fight is not going to be a fight that's possible now. But will we see Natasha move weight possibly?
I think it is well known. I think Clarissa Shields, that's the fight. That's the fight that we've said would want. I think that's a huge fight. Whether we have to go to America, Natasha's very keen in fighting either in Vegas or Madison Square Garden. So that's the fight. I think Katie Taylor's another option. If Katie wanted to come and fight on Sky or whatever, that'd be an option as well. So listen, they're the fights. That's what Tasha wants. Clarissa said she wants to fight Natasha for her old belts, and Natasha said yeah, she'd do that. So yeah, that's I think that's the most realistic fight that there is out there for Natasha now.
I did speak to Terri at the Leeds weigh-in where she said that I can't see Tasha fighting for a bigger payday. Just like your response to that one, Joe.
Well, both Terri and Steffi, I think.
She did mention.
No, I know. Yeah, but Terri and Steffi, I think they need to go and do the maths, because they're high six-figure. So when you say to me high six figures, how much do you think high six figures is?
God knows. I don't know, 500,000.
No, high. Come on, high. You're talking 800-900, aren't you?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Good.
Well. I'm telling you now. This is the trouble when you can't do business when they don't know maths. High six figures, 898, isn't a quarter of that. Do you understand?
Okay.
It's not even half it. So you just think that they're telling people saying we've offered. I said, no, you haven't. Stop lying. And then Terry's saying, oh, Tasha won't get hired. Well, I don't know what Terry's getting paid, but Tasha's doing very well at the moment. And Tasha's biggest payday isn't Terri Harper. It might be Terry's, but it's not Natasha Jonas's. So, like you say, the high-end six figures that they said they've offered Natasha Jonas is just absolutely a load of rubbish and a load of lies. And how can you go and sit down business when people are telling social media outlets that they're putting in high six-figure offers to fight Natasha Jonas? It's just all lies. So how you got to sit around the table and do a negotiation when you've got that type of rubbish being talked out straight away? So listen, let them crack on with it and move on. But we're in the Natasha Jonas business, and it's nice for Terri to worry about Natasha's fees and money, but we're all right, thank you.
So yeah, again, moving on to 2023, what can we see in terms of looking at this year and looking at next year? Are you expecting as much of a success next year in terms of this year?
I think anything with a bit of success, I think you've got to be in the right place at the right time. When opportunity comes, you have to grab it with both hands. I think a lot of the fighters this year were at the last chance saloon. Mark Heffron was, Paul Butler was, Natasha Jonas was. The pressure on Butler in Liverpool, Jonas in Manchester on the Carn Brook bill, Mark Heffron, and then it's Clark's back garden. And you've got to go out there and do it. And they all went in there as underdogs, and they all they all did it. So that's a lesson for the other fighters in the gym this year. That's got to have opportunities like Charlie Edwards and Mark Efron as he steps up, whether it be European or world eliminators. For him to progress, he's got to take these opportunities now, and Charlie and the other fighters, because there won't be no second chances. Boxing can be so cruel at times, and it's shown that people look how close Callum Johnson was to beating BTBF, and the amount of times I'm sure he kicks himself, and how different, if he would have gone on the finish, his career could have been by now. And there, the fine margins really in boxing. So next year, will it be successful? Well, that all depends on the attitude on the fighters, the opportunities, the fights, and basically down to the fighters themselves. Really, we can be in the gym all the time. We can be studying. We can be doing the best we can managerial wise with rankings and promoters and everything else. But they've got to want it, and they've got to want it and not moan about things, and just get on with it and have that attitude. What Natasha, Paul, Mark Efron has gone and showed this year, that you've got to go in there and no one's got to give you anything. You've got to go in and grab it with both hands, and they all did that this year.
Just some quick fire ones before we finish up. What's been your fight of the year?
My fight of the year?
Yeah.
For my fighters or normal?
Do both. Do your stable. I know it's hard. You got so many. So do your stable, then one without.
I think fight of the year, I wouldn't say fight, but I think boxing masterclass of the year was Paul Butler, resulting in Jonas. I think knockout of the year was Natasha Jonas winning a world title against Namas in front of 20,000, and the pressure she was on for doing that. Obviously, Mark Efron was such a clinical performance. And then fight of the year, general-wise. I don't know. I love chocolate. Most probably Chocolita. I think Chocolita's fight. I'm a huge Chocolita fan. I think every time he fights, it's great. Boxing, you just can't beat that type of fight. You've got to appreciate them type of fighters for as long as the year. But yeah, I'd say that. Which
promotional company have got the best stable at the moment?
I'd say Queensberry Boxing at the moment. I think they've signed a lot of fighters. They've signed a lot of ABA champions, ABA runner-up, boys club champions, junior champions, and they're building well. And if you look at the stable and where they've got the fighters in the rankings and they're ready to make the move in 2023, I think Nick Ball has been a good revelation this year. There's another kid got an opportunity and took it with both hands, and that's what I was saying, referring to like Butler, Tasha and Mark. Nick Ball was another one this year. He wasn't on anyone's radar at the beginning of the year, and he took his opportunity, and he's had a good year. And I think there'll be some other breakout kids this year like that. But I think Queensberry are very strong at the moment. Boxer have signed some good fighters, but they're work in progress. Matchroom are always strong with their stable of fighters. But I think at the moment, I think I'd have to say Frank Warren Queensberry.
Away from your stable, what fight do you want to see in 2023?
Obviously, the Spence Crawford. I'd love to see that fight. That's one that I've always wanted to see. Canelo Benavidez is a fight that I'd like to see as well. I think that's a really good Mexican fight. Will it happen? I wouldn't know, but I'd like to see that. And I'd also like to see BTBF versus Bivol, providing BTBF gets past Anthony Yard. I think that's a good fight as well.
One of the fights I was proud to attend was the Ricky Hatton fight. Just a word on that as well for your friend coming back, just a exhibition against Marco Pereira.
Yeah, no, it was good. Listen, it was good to see Ricky there at the arena, and Ricky being Ricky, coming out with the nurses and the walking frame and everything else. And listen, it was good for him, and it was good for Pereira as well. Pereira obviously he's fought at the arena when he fought Amir Khan, and listen, the legends of the sport, both fighters, aren't they? And it was good that people could go out and see them perform again. Maybe it might lead to, say, a Junior Witter Ricky Hatton or a Cotto Ricky Hatton. Who knows? But it was good, and it was nice to see Ricky back at home at the Manchester Arena again.
What's been the worst moment of 2022 away from your stable, do you think?
The worst moment? I think that lady dying in the ring. There's a woman, I think, did she get killed in the ring, or no, Hannah Rankin's opponent, I think it was. She ended up in a coma after the fight, didn't she? I think any fatality in the boxing ring this year is huge, and that's shocking. So prayers and thoughts to all the families this year. They all sat there this year not thinking they'd be without the loved ones, or the loved ones would be maimed and in care and life support. So that's a really a tough thing. What was the question? What was the question again? You?
What's the worst thing that's happened in boxing in 2022 away from your stable?
Oh, well, I'd say that, and I think the worst thing as well, I think, was the trying to be the big where people tried to kid British boxing fans over a fight. I think the fact that they tried to pull off the biggest, I don't know how to say this, but the biggest con there was, I think it was absolutely disgusting that they tried to put on a fight when somebody failed 2 drug tests. I think that's going to leave a bad taste for British boxing this year. That the fact that somebody tried to make a fight, as Gervonta Davis said, with a dirty fighter, and them all knowing, the board knowing, the promoters knowing, and the fighters knowing, and sort of tried to con the British public. And like a lot of people say now, well, that's one we know. What about the ones we don't know that haven't come to light? So I think that left a bad taste in everyone's mouth this year. I think it really did.
Definitely can't agree more. Any final words as well, Joe, for 2022? Just anything you'd like to add, mate?
No, I just think some of the champions be more active. I do agree with Tyson Fury out fighting more often, regular and often. I'd like to see Joshua fighting more often. The heavyweights just getting it on and stop talking about it. I'd like to see Joe. People don't say Anthony Joshua, saying Dylan White. It's like, no, why don't Anthony Joshua fight Joe Joyce? That's a great comeback fight. That's a world title eliminator. Let's make that. Do you understand? Let's do that fight. Let's stop. Joe, there's a bit when you look back at the 80s and the 70s and you see Weaver and Dokes and Ken Norton and Ernest Shavers, and everyone's just fighting everyone and anyone. And it's just like, we've got the heavyweights, let's do it. Like Tyson's fighting Usyk, Joshua fight Wilder, Joe Joyce fight Joshua. Do you know what I mean? It's like someone said the other day, oh, who should Daniel Dubois fight next? So this Fraser Clark. What's Fraser Clark doing? Fraser, you go and fight Nathan Gorman, or go and fight for the British now, and you get in the mix. And let's just all get out fighting regular more and often. And Spence and Crawford, another one. And you look at fighters in years gone past, like Hearns and Leonard, Curry, McCrory, all fighting unification fights in their early 20s. And we're having Spence Crawford now got to be like Mayweather Pacquiao, and it's too much talk and too much huff and puff and not enough substance, really. And I think boxing 2023 really needs to get back to boxing and the best fight the best, and no rematch clauses. If you win, you win, and that's it, and move on. And especially when you're mandatory, and that's it. You work your way up again, and just champions being more busy, to be honest.
Well, Joe, thank you very much for joining me tonight. But also on a personal note, thanks for letting me come to the gym numerous times this year. Hopefully more in 2023. But enjoy your Christmas and New Year, and we'll catch up then, mate.
Yeah, cheers, no problem. Have a good Christmas, and keep up the good work, my friend.